All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Awesome. Today, things are going to get, well, a little intense.
Oh.
Yeah, we're talking U.S.-Russia tensions.
Mm.
You brought in this Newsweek article about, well, some pretty strong statements
Yes.
from Dmitry Medvedev. We're going to break down exactly what he's saying and try to understand what it all means for this whole nuclear deterrence thing.
You know, it's interesting. This article really shows those raw emotions behind all this geopolitical stuff.
Yeah, you don't always think about that.
Right. We always think it's like some big chess game.
Exactly.
But there are real anxieties there.
Real human fears driving these decisions.
Yeah.
So just to make sure we're all on the same page,
Right.
U.S. and Russia, big standoff over Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. is supporting Ukraine.
Yeah.
Russia's not happy about it.
Not at all.
And that's where Medvedev comes in.
Exactly.
Close ally of Putin.
Right.
Deputy chairman of the Security Council of Russia.
So when he talks,
People listen.
they listen.
And in this Newsweek article, he's talking about U.S. maybe transferring nuclear weapons to Ukraine.
Mm.
And he doesn't mince words,
Oh, no.
calling Biden crazy, senile,
Wow.
talking about a paranoid psychosis.
That is some serious language.
Right.
It's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah, you could say that.
This kind of talk, it can really escalate things.
Increase the risk of, well,
Miscalculation.
exactly. And it's not just the name calling either.
Yeah.
He even brings up President Clinton
Hmm.
and how he expressed regret over the Budapest Memorandum.
Oh, wow.
You know, the agreement where Ukraine,
Gave up their nukes
exactly, after the Soviet Union collapsed.
in exchange for security assurances.
From Russia, U.S., U.K.
Yeah, big promises.
And Medvedev's basically saying,
What's that?
you broke your promises before, so why should
Right.
we trust you now?
That historical context is really important.
For sure.
It plays into this sense of like,
Mistrust.
yeah, a deep mistrust
Between
between Russia and the West.
So how does this all connect to nuclear deterrence?
Ah, good question.
Because Medvedev's basically saying, if the U.S. transfers nukes to Ukraine,
Yeah.
Russia will see it as a direct threat
Okay.
and act accordingly.
Imagine we're on a really tall ladder, each holding a bucket of paint.
Okay, I'm listening.
We threaten to throw the paint on each other
It's
if one of
one-
us moves.
That's a scary
Like
thought.
kind of what nuclear deterrence is like.
Oh, I see.
Scary, messy.
Yeah.
One wrong step could be disastrous.
Right.
The logic is the fear of mutually assured destruction.
Keeps everyone in check.
Exactly. It prevents either side
Yeah.
from actually using these weapons.
Wow. Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Yeah.
But then Medvedev,
What about him?
he goes on to brag about Russia's new hypersonic missile,
The Oreshnik.
the Oreshnik, right?
Last one.
And he even says bomb shelters will not help.
Oh, wow.
Is he just trying to scare everyone?
Well, there's definitely some psychological warfare going on. He wants to project strength, instill fear in his opponents, but also in his own people.
Oh, interesting.
It's like he's saying, we are powerful.
Don't mess with us.
Exactly.
It's all very unsettling.
Yeah.
Especially that line about Russia warning about launches in advance.
Oh, yeah.
Like, thanks for the heads up.
Haha, right. That dark humor, that's classic Medvedev.
Really?
It's almost like he's downplaying the seriousness.
But the underlying message is still chilling.
It is.
So Russia sees any potential nuclear transfer
Yes.
as a threat to their existence?
Yeah.
And they're willing to respond with overwhelming force?
I think that's clear.
And to make things even more tense.
Oh.
You've got Ukraine
Yeah.
using those U.S.-supplied long-range weapons to strike inside Russia. And this feeds right into Medvedev's narrative.
How so?
He argues these strikes justify retaliation,
Yeah.
weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, wow.
And he equates it to World War III.
And this is where those human emotions,
Come into play.
right, on both sides.
There's anger, there's fear.
that feeling of being backed into a corner.
Exactly. So we've got this combustible mix,
Of what?
nuclear posturing, advanced weaponry,
Yeah,
a conflict that's already incredibly dangerous.
that's a lot.
What does it all mean for nuclear proliferation?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Could other countries start thinking, hey, maybe we need nukes too?
It's possible. Russia's actions and Medvedev's rhetoric,
Yeah.
it undermines those norms against nuclear proliferation,
Mhm.
could embolden other nations to pursue their own nuclear ambitions.
This is getting really heavy.
It is.
And speaking of heavy, we have to talk about the human cost.
Absolutely. We can't forget about that. Yeah, it's easy to get lost in all the talk of nukes and strategy.
Right.
But we can't forget about the people, the ones actually affected by this.
Yeah, the human cost of all this.
Right.
The threat of nuclear war. It's terrifying, to be honest.
Is it?
Easy to get overwhelmed by the big picture.
I know what you mean.
But behind it all, there are millions of people.
Living with this very real possibility of suffering.
Unimaginable suffering.
Exactly.
Think about the people in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Those who have already lost their homes.
Those living in fear of bombs.
Those who've lost loved ones.
Psychological toll.
It's immeasurable.
It really is.
And it's not just Ukraine.
Yeah.
People all over the world, they're feeling this anxiety.
Yeah, it's true.
A nuclear conflict between superpowers.
That affects everyone.
No matter where you live.
Right. A shared fear.
That transcends borders and cultures.
And that fear,
Yeah.
it can be a powerful motivator.
How so?
It reminds us we're all connected.
We are.
And that the choices of leaders in Moscow, Washington, Kyiv.
They have global consequences.
Yeah.
So what can we do? It feels like we're on the edge of a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
One wrong step, we all fall.
It does feel that way sometimes.
Is there any way to pull back?
Well, we can't just give in to despair. Acknowledge the danger, yes. But we're not powerless.
Okay.
There are things we can do.
Really? Like what?
To push for a better future.
Give me an example.
For starters, stay informed. Yeah. Understand the nuances of this conflict.
So separate fact from fiction.
Exactly.
Be critical of the information.
Especially in a world with so much
misinformation.
And propaganda.
Right. We can't let fear control how we see things.
No.
So we need to be critical.
Of the news, the information we see.
Yeah.
And we need to speak up.
Speak up.
We can't be silent about these threats.
So hold our leaders accountable.
Exactly.
Demand they focus on.
Diplomacy, de-escalation.
You think that works?
It's a start.
I don't know. It feels like a long shot.
What do you mean?
Like one email to a senator.
It might feel small.
Right.
But when enough people speak up,
yeah,
it creates a wave
of public opinion
that politicians can't ignore.
Never underestimate collective action. History's full of examples.
Where people demanded change.
And made real progress.
Absolutely.
You're right.
We can't just wait for someone else.
We all have a responsibility.
To speak out, to advocate for peace.
And to hold our leaders accountable.
That's right.
What about supporting those organizations?
Yes. The ones working for peace.
Promoting dialogue, building bridges.
Exactly.
Finding peaceful solutions.
Those organizations need our support.
They really do, working tirelessly behind the scenes.
And they need our help.
Whether it's donations, volunteering.
Or just spreading the word about their work.
Every little bit helps.
It all adds up.
It's easy to feel helpless in a situation like this.
I know.
But we're not powerless.
That's right.
Peace isn't just the absence of war.
It's something we build.
Every day, with our actions.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
And it leads us perfectly to our next topic.
This whole thing with Medvedev, it really shows you...
What's that?
How much emotion plays a role in international relations.
It's a huge factor.
It's not just, military strategy.
Right. There's this whole layer of fear, anger, mistrust.
It's driving everything.
Absolutely.
And we often talk about these global issues.
Yeah.
In this...
detached.
Yeah, detached way.
Like it's all just numbers and calculations.
But at the end of the day...
It's humans making the decisions.
With all their flaws.
Emotional biases.
All of that.
So how do we account for that?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
How do you negotiate with someone
who's driven by fear, by anger?
By things they don't even understand? I think the first step to acknowledge those emotions, see where they're coming from.
Not just dismiss them.
Right. Not as irrational or irrelevant.
We got to try to see their perspective.
Even if we don't agree.
That's,
hard.
Yeah, really hard.
Especially with someone like Medvedev.
Right. With all the threats and aggressive talk.
It's a challenge, but that's why
diplomacy
is so important.
You think so?
It's about communicating, finding common ground.
Even when you disagree.
Even then.
But diplomacy takes time.
It does.
And it doesn't always work.
That's true.
What happens when there's an immediate threat?
Like a nuclear escalation.
Yeah.
That's where deterrence comes in.
Right, the big scary stick.
As long as those weapons exist.
The threat's always there.
But deterrence only works if it's credible. Clear communication.
Your enemy knows what'll happen.
And you avoid anything that looks like an attack.
It's such a delicate balance.
One wrong move.
It's all over.
It's scary to think about.
That's why we need leaders.
What kind of leaders?
Level-headed, rational.
Who understand the gravity of the situation.
Exactly. So it all comes back to us staying informed, holding our leaders accountable.
And advocating for peace.
Yeah, we can't just sit back and hope.
We have to shape our own future.
But what does that future look like?
What do you mean?
I mean, a world without nuclear weapons.
It seems impossible. But it's a goal worth striving for.
You think so?
It'll take a huge effort.
From everyone.
All the nations working together.
To create a world without those weapons.
A world based on security, not fear.
That's a tall order.
It is. But even small steps.
In the right direction.
They matter.
They do.
And remember, even in dark times.
There's always hope for a better future.
That's what keeps us going.
Well said, well said. A huge thank you to our expert.
It's been a pleasure.
And to all of you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
Remember, stay informed, stay engaged.
And never lose hope.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep pushing for a better world.
A world where peace prevails.